We are helping farmers and ranchers become more economically efficient by using UAVs to survey their crops and help them detect diseases or different low spots and help them become more efficient, yielding more crops.
Basically, we can attach different types of sensors and cameras on the bottom, like right here. This is just a regular GoPro. The other cameras are really expensive. But there's a multispectral camera, there's a LiDAR camera, remote sensing, and with these different cameras we can do different things like create 3D renderings of buildings or crops or anything like that, create multispectral imagery where we can identify diseases within crops, and we can actually count the stalks of corn over an entire field of crops for corn. It can count the plants, the number of rows, and everything in between, basically.
That's us. That's Hogs.
Do you have any questions? All right.
Thanks.
Welcome to Startup Grind. It's a quick pop-up Startup Grind. We didn't really plan to do this till about a week ago. We usually do them at 7 o'clock every month or so. We have the good fortune of having Mike here with us tonight. I didn't attend that. And he is from Dallas. He's a downtown developer. I'm going to let Austin introduce him and give you the particulars about it, but I'm going to introduce Austin, who is our student director of Startup Grind.
Howdy. My name's Austin Tankersley. I'm student director of Startup Grind here at Texas A&M. We're one of over 200 chapters worldwide, and we're the only student-run one. Today we have with us Mike Sarimsakci, who is the owner or managing partner of Alto 211, which is kind of like a co-working space in Dallas. I'll let you tell them a little bit more about it.
Okay, so why don't I tell you guys a little bit about what we are and what we do.
Yeah.
So we are Alto and Altera. We are in a couple main line of businesses. We are in real estate development and investment. We are in construction, and we're also in the renewable energy business. For construction, we do business in Russia, Kazakhstan, and Iraq, and we have a big office in Istanbul, and that's run by my brother, my partner. And for real estate investments, we do a lot of work we've done a lot in California, and now we do a lot in Texas, specifically in Dallas. And our third line of business is renewable energy, and we are very much involved in Kazakhstan in doing 600 megawatt of wind power. So we actually help the government to set the tariff and write some of their laws. So those are our three core businesses. Now in Dallas specifically, we have few buildings and we have some land. And in one of those buildings, Alto 211, it's 200,000 square foot of office building, and it's been empty for 20 years, and we took it over. It has very particular architecture. It's from 1950s, old blue facade glass. It's either very well liked or not liked by some. And so when we saw the building, we thought it would be great for startup community, for tech, because it had that feel and retro look to it. And as we were getting ready to market, we got introduced to Tech Wildcatters and Health Wildcatters. Gabriela, say hi. That's Gabriela heads both organizations. And at that time, the building was empty, nothing was happening. And they came in, they had their faith in us, and they took a chance on our delivery capability, and we signed the lease. In 3 months, we turned it over to them. They are occupying about 2 floors. And after they signed up, all of a sudden more startup and tech community started coming in. We had some consultants, venture capital, some gaming guys, some app developers started coming in. And since then we have also a very well thought out co-working space signed up too. And they occupy 2 floors. The 1 floor is they have all the startup companies individuals coming in. Another floor, we have a half a floor of art gallery that they wanted to run, and they also have an event space where they hold pretty large gatherings like this. So it became almost like Alto 11 became what's called a tech mecca. That's what it's given to us right now in downtown Dallas, or for that matter, Dallas proper. So we have a lot of startups, a lot of tech companies, some health tech companies, and the fifth ranked, of course, accelerator in the country, that's Tech Wildcatters and Health Wildcatters. We're very happy to have them in our building. And we see them as partners. And I had invested and dabbled into Tech Wildcatters and Health Wildcatters, and I really liked what I saw. And then I started investing in more startups, and that's how I got introduced to the startup community.
Okay. So what do you look for in a startup to invest? Like what characteristics really pop out to you?
Okay, that's a good question, and I think I have, if I rank it, first, I have no idea with some of the stuff that you guys come up with, right? So I really rely on if I'm going to like you or not, and if you're going to like me or not. If you're going to ask my money, I better like you and you better like me, right? I mean, seriously. If that doesn't happen, I mean, I really don't move forward. Then I have a $1 million mic question. If you can answer me in 15 seconds, you got another plus. Who's a startup here? Who has a company or idea? Okay. What's your name?
Time out, Jim.
Okay. Should I ask you the question? Okay. If I give you $1 million today, how much money are you going to give me in 3 years from now?
$25 million.
Okay, so you're telling me 25x, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now some people cannot even answer that, right? You need to be able to answer that. Whether you're going to tell me, Mike, in 3 years I'm not going to give you anything, I might give you, 3 million 5 years from now, I still need an answer, right? Because that means you kind of like studied how much money you're going to make. After all, we're in this to make money, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know that answer, then you're going to get a negative from me. That means you really didn't think about how much money you're going to make. You might have the best idea ever, but if you're not going to commercialize that idea, right, you're not going to make money for yourself, and you're not going to make money for me, i.e. the investor, right? So now the third one is, I'm very privileged and very fortunate to share space with Tech Wildcatters and Health Wildcatters, right? Because 300 startup guys applied, they shortlist down to 30, then down to 15. From that 15, everybody has their favorites, but then you're going to end up with 3 or 4 that everybody kind of like is going to like a lot. And then I also mentored a little bit, so I have my own favorites too. Then I pick some of those guys. So I'm very specific in that. So 3 things, right? Now, if somebody comes outside of Tech Wildcatters and Health Wildcatters, and if I understand what they are doing, I will move forward. But it's a little difficult for me. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So why do you work with young startups instead of already established companies? Like, why do you want to work with startups?
Well, I think first is you could make, I think, more money, right? I mean, obviously, you're going to end up taking maybe 4 or 5 companies. You invest in one, you have maybe 10x. The other 4 fails. You're still making good with your money, right? The second thing is, I think I really wanted to support innovation and creativity in US because we're so fortunate to live in this country and we're free to create. We have access to capital, and I really want to be part of that, and I want to celebrate that freedom in that manner. You know what I mean? We talk about democracy, freedom, and this and that, but I mean, when it comes to the bottom line, we have so much going on here as far as creating things, innovating stuff, right? Bringing new ideas to the market, and we're free to do that. Whereas if you go to other parts of the world, you have all these stumbling blocks, and I've seen them. I'm from that part of the world, actually. I see what works and what doesn't work. So this is my way of celebrating that and giving back, in a sense, right? Because I know I'm going to end up losing some, and I know that. So that's why I do it.
Okay. Now, what would you say is your greatest lesson learned in dealing with startups, in dealing with the startup world?
Accepting failure.
Now, what advice can you give to some of our young entrepreneurs here who are trying to get their companies right off the ground?
I think Nelson Mandela has a great saying, and I always quote that. It always seems impossible until it's done, right? So I cannot tell you have a bad idea, right? Who am I to tell you that? So who's somebody else? But I think some of the basic things that I can tell you is be confident what you're going to have and what you're going to create, but don't be cocky about it, right? But I mean, don't take no for an answer. Do what you want. Just go ahead and do it. I think there is so much capital in the US for you guys, for startups, for new ideas. I mean, if you pair up with the right people, and I think you really need to pair up with the right guys, right partners, the sky is the limit for you. So.
We have one last question, then we're going to open up the floor for some Q&A. So how would one of the entrepreneurs here at Startup Aggieland, once they're out of the program, be able to get involved with the Alto 211 and Wildcatters?
Well, I think I would take Wildcatters and help Wildcatters. I think Gabriela can answer much better than I can. But if we specifically talk about Alto 211, we have Alto Starts, where if you graduate, you end up getting some funding. You want to end up networking, then you could come and get an office from us. And we have small group of mentors that could help you out. But I think the true value in our building is really take Wildcatters and help Wildcatters. Because they really put you through rigors of the program. But for that, I think you have to have some basics going for you. And Gabriela, you want to answer that? I think you're much better at that, Gabriela.
Yeah, so, what's the question again?
How would one of the entrepreneurs with their startup here at Startup Aggieland get involved with the program over at Alto 211 and Tech Wildcatters?
Yeah, so first of all, we're always at different events and all over the place, and we have lots of events, so come see us, come say hi, or meet us at a place like this. But then for our programs themselves, the applications are online. It's pretty simple. And the tech program runs in the spring, the new Emerge Wearables program runs in the summer, and Health Wildcatters runs in the fall. So depending on what kind of technology you've built and what kind of company you want to build, those are the different programs to apply to. Yeah, but we're pretty open. You can always email. Email Molly, our executive director. Molly at Wildcatters.
She's an Aggie.
She is an Aggie, so she will definitely want to hear people from the homeland in the program.
All right. Do we have any questions?
In regards to you, are there any things like, referring back to this question, are there any things that you in particular like to look for in startups or whatnot when you're looking to select one?
Yeah, so we primarily look at the people. The ideas are definitely secondary. In our technology program, it's all B2B technology, so if you're selling to other businesses, that's what we're specifically looking for. But from there, around the people, it's really what have you accomplished in your life? What project have you taken from start to finish that you can show us some sense of, you've actually seen something through all the way? Because just persistence in startups is the hardest thing, and that's the biggest reason that people fail. That and team problems. So also when you tell us about your team, and we require it be 2 or more full-time founders, because we're investing in a business. We're not investing in a plaything for you. We're not there to lose money. So yeah, just some sort of background on the team that you guys have worked together before, you've done something together before. And then most of the companies coming into our program, they've got a developed product or at least a prototype, usually they come in with revenue already. So just some sort of early traction is helpful.
You have done your like civil engineering, and then you did your construction management degree, and then you became venture capitalist. Now you're investing in different kind of projects and stuff like that. So I'm doing my construction management degree from here, and I did my civil engineering back from India. And I always wanted to ask this question, and I think you're a very suitable person to ask this. How would you explain the transition, like from civil engineer to doing your management, and now like finally doing this investing thing? You work for like real estate developers and people like that. So how did that journey of yours basically would explain that? Like how it changed your mind to go from one phase of business to another?
Well, I mean, in the core, I'm a real estate developer and a builder, right? That's given. That's never going to change. Now, but I'm also an entrepreneur. When I see a opportunity, if it makes sense, I get in it. And I mean, I must be stupid not to invest in tech Wildcatters and help Wildcatters graduates, right? They are, I mean, they are ranked number 5 in the nation, or maybe in the world for that matter, and they're already eliminating all those people, right? So when I see the opportunity, I have to take it and get in it, right? So real estate developer and builder, that's my core competence, right? And then entrepreneur is in my heart, and when I see the opportunity, I seize it. Did I answer?
Yeah. Also, like in construction, do you feel like any kind of startups being? Have you ever observed like these kind of work basically which people are doing, like new graduates, which kind of excite you that okay, this is the part in construction basically which can be a scope for a startup in future? Like have you, like most of like my friends also and fellow colleagues, they have invested in or they are a part of startups which are more technology and you could say IT based and computer science and all that kind of stuff. But do you see something like which is related to construction and they are doing their own startup company which is kind of
I haven't seen a whole lot in the startup area for construction or for contracting. But if you look at the construction world these days, 10 years ago, Bechtel, whom I worked before, was the top largest contractor with 25 to 30 billion dollars in revenues, right? Now, if I look at the top 10 contractors, top 3 are Chinese. The combined contracting value about 250 billion dollars, and now Bechtel is in the 10th place. So obviously, when you talk about a technology and deployment of those technologies, I think you have to kind of like get into that market and see what the Chinese want, right? They are the biggest client right now.
what they did actually.
Hmm?
What they did to come to the number 1 maybe. Yeah.
They are now, there is 3 companies, they are top 3 right now. And in the top 10, there is 5 Chinese contractors.
Do you feel like this in the induction of technology like building information modeling and all those kind of technology coming in construction, does that offer a platform for like doing a startup in construction?
Yeah. Listen, I mean, to me, it's very simple, right?
Yeah.
I'm a real estate developer, right? And also builder. But when I'm a pure real estate developer and I own a project and I want to go tender, I really don't care what kind of technology you use. I'm just after the cheapest bidder for me. So if you as the contractor are going to use that technology, that's your business, not mine. I just want my product at the price that you promised me, that's all.
Do we have any other questions?
You're working on a project, say you're working on a startup, and she spoke about persistence and moving forward with it. You have to push through some different hurdles and whatnot. When do you decide, you know, when do you kind of come to the conclusion that this maybe isn't, you know, the home run and the step away? Would you have any kind of advice for that?
When you have no money at the bank. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? You got to be careful. I mean, but hey, I can't tell you that. You know, you have to make your own. You got to fail a couple times and get up, and you know, you're gonna end up getting one right. But I don't think a failure is the end. It's just a lesson to learn for every one of us, right?
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't want you guys to get discouraged. I can't tell you when you need to quit. That's going to be your decision, right? So you might be more resilient than maybe some others, and you might have the idea that everybody thinks it doesn't make sense, and all of a sudden, how can I tell you when to quit? You know, you got to decide that, I think. And sometimes you're going to end up quitting and move on with something else, and you're going to be successful on the next one.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
As an investor and an entrepreneur, and this is a broad question and it can be skewed, but do you focus on more so the market type, a new market, or existing market, resegmented market, or do you focus more on the innovation, or do you have a preference?
I focus more on people. So to me, this is me speaking, because this is my culture back from Istanbul, right? We put a lot of importance into personal relationship. So you have an idea, and if I like you and your skills, especially your people skills, then I'm going to tilt it towards you versus somebody else. Because listen, you might be the best entrepreneur with the greatest idea, but if you don't know how to sell your idea and yourself, you're not going to be successful. That's at least, you know, that's how I perceive.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you coming to talk to us.
We've got a little bit of time left, and a few people just logged in.
Okay.
We've got about 20 minutes left. What I was telling you is don't let one person ask all
Yeah,
the questions.
yeah. Okay. Do we have any more questions? All right.
Got one. Of all the startups that you've invested in, what team, what company was most impressive to you and why?
That's a good question. There's these guys out of Denmark that we put some money in, and they became really successful. And I think the reason why they were successful because the team was very cohesive and they worked very well together. And they had also one person that was technically very skilled. And I think if you are in the maybe in the technology side and the app side, I think it's important to have that knowledge, because to me that could be almost like a cash drain for the business. If you don't know how to manage, if you're in the app development business and you don't have a founder that understands that, then I think you're going to end up spending a lot of money and burn yourself. So it's very important to have the right partners and have everybody certain set skills that's going to complement each other, right?
Thank you.
Sure.
As a follow-up question, what characteristics were on those teams or really stuck out at you or stick out in startups? Of the people, the individuals, and the teams itself?
I think they really had some of the questions that I asked, they knew the answers to. I mean, I'm very straightforward. Like, you know, I give you money, how much money are you going to give me back? This much, okay. Then I go to the next stage and I ask my next question, okay, so to get to that level, right, how much revenue you have to make? Then I ask this next question and I say, so what is your EBITDA? How much profit you're going to make? Then they tell me that. Then quickly I come with a valuation in my head, what they're going to go to, right? And some people know that and some people don't. Now, if you don't know that, but you have kind of certain idea how to get there, okay. But if you have no clue, that's not going to work. Then I ask about your market size, right? I mean, how large is your market? Some guy is going to answer that to me, one of the team members. The other team member maybe is more technically oriented. He's going to give me stuff, half of the things I don't get. But I mean, you know, you kind of like feel they complement each other. And in front of me, they are cohesive. They get their stuff together. You're a startup, you're a company at this point, right? You have to have a website. I mean, some really basic stuff if you think about it. Do you have a business card without Gmail or Yahoo Mail or Hotmail, you know, with the company? So when you talk to me, do you look into my eyes straight? I mean, these are some of the things that I look for. Do you get along with each other, with partners? Do you guys get into kind of like a mini argument in front of me? You know what I mean? Before you come in front of me as an investor, you kind of like need to really work out the kinks in your team, and it has to be pretty straightforward in front of the investors. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but when you come to me, those are the things that I look at, and I look at the. I don't care about how you dress. You could be in flip-flops and stuff when you come and talk to me, right? But you better have to sell your idea.
Question in the back.
Yeah, what are your top 3 favorite books that help you be successful in everything?
My top 3 books. Okay, so I really go back to the. There was one guy that really affected me. He was out of Hawaii. I forgot his name, but he wrote a couple real estate books.
Rich Dad Poor Dad?
What's that?
Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yes. This was like when I first finished school. I got really impressed by what he did, and then it's unrelated, but I don't necessarily read a lot of how to do books or like entrepreneurial books necessarily, but I read a lot about history too, and by reading history, I kind of like try to figure out what the human traits are and what made them successful at that part of the history and what made them fail. And I think you could look into, Stalin, or you could look into Atatürk, who's the founder of the Turkish Modern Republic, and why one failed, why one succeeded. And I looked at some of the company's founders also, like Steve Jobs, or stuff that he wrote, not necessarily how to do things, because, I mean, you end up doing things differently than me in your life, right? But then when you look at these common traits in people's skills, I think to me that's more interesting than trying to get direct one-on-one advice on a particular book. So I try to read as much history books and try to understand how humans reacted to problems that they were facing in different times, and see, that's what I try to learn basically. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Good question over here.
Yeah, so traditionally sectors like healthcare and energy have a hard time with innovation, in part maybe due to raising capital at that level, or in that sector is rather difficult. So how would you raise capital? How do you suggest raising capital in those difficult sectors?
That's a very good question, and me being, again, I'm going to make an example of take Wildcatters and help Wildcatters, right? The culture is different, actually. Even though they are both technology-based, tech is more relaxed, more laid back, right? When you go to the health tech sector, they're more like corporate. But I don't necessarily agree with you about having an issue with raising capital on the healthcare technology side, because I've seen it over and over. They're able to raise money. What was your other question?
Like energy, for example, same thing, capital with energy. Just difficult sectors where innovation might be slower than just tech.
Yeah, actually, again, if you have a, let's say, energy accelerator and it's run properly, I'm sure you're going to have people applying and you're going to find funding, right? It just needs to be there. I don't think it's going to be a problem to find people that wants to invest in energy, whether it's improving the existing oil and gas, production or whatever it might be, or coming up with this new solar panel, or to switching the rotor blades or whatever. I think you have to have a certain center in a sense, right? Then people will start coming in. Listen, if I want to invest today in green energy, I don't know where to go. But if I want to invest in technology, I know I'm going to go to Gabriela, right? So I think, is it the chicken or the egg? I don't know. I don't know.
Any more questions?
If you don't mind, I'm one of the mentors here, but I do have kind of a specific question. Technology-based company, been in business for a couple of years, generating revenue, working contracts, working proposals and stuff. Why would a startup company want to come and participate in Tech Wildcatters again? I guess I'm trying to get a feel for when is the right time for a company to come and take advantage of the resources that you provide? When they're really early on in startup, or they're just a young company that are still trying to get their foot in the door in a new industry?
Well, I mean, I do not run Tech Wildcatters, right?
Okay.
I just invest. I'm very happy to do that. But I think any accelerator is gonna, and I don't know about your evaluation at this point, but typically, I think when you get into Tech Wildcatters or an accelerator, maybe you're $500,000 to $1.5 million, but you might want to end up giving some shares up based on your $500,000 valuation, because you're gonna, I think, learn a lot of skills for you to the next level. And I think the mentor network is just incredible, right? And then the access to capital that you're gonna end up getting from those connections is immense.
So currently I'm just, funded by friends and family, probably a good time, but if I've gotten all the way up to say Series C funding and I'm up to 50 million, then probably far enough along the way to not.
I think is Gabriela.
Yeah, that's what it is. There's the Series C funding. One company, another company's at the friends and family club.
Yeah, so 50 million is definitely beyond going to an accelerator. Definitely at the friends and family stage, all the way up through probably Series A.
Okay.
Yeah, it's typically about right.
I have a question. So how do you go from, being a college graduate to being, a big investor and, being able to have all this capital to invest? Like how do you get from there? What kind of steps do you have to really take to, really up, just what you're doing? Like, yeah.
I don't think there's a right answer to that, but I think you have to, if you promise somebody something, you have to deliver it. You have to execute it. If you don't, you will lose credibility. And the more you lose credibility, the more you're going to get away from being able to, in a sense, running large amount of money maybe. You know what I mean? So the more you deliver on your promises, whether you work for yourself or whether you work for somebody else, you're going to be successful. So my philosophy is very simple. I under-promise and work over-delivering. And so far, so good. Have I failed? Absolutely. But then, hey, I get up and I fought and I did it again. So, but that's my approach. You might have a different approach. But again, I think we need to really get back to the basics of human emotions, and that is, once you establish your trust with someone, and if you're in a business relationship, and you promise them something, you better deliver that. If you don't, it's not going to work.
When you do tend to fail, and you refer to getting back up, what changes do you look to make? Is it changing, getting into another business or idea, or is it changing your team or your philosophy towards innovation or an idea? What have you done in the past, and what would you recommend or have seen happen and to be successful?
Good question. And it's very straightforward. Let's forget about the business and all that other stuff. You really need to step back and heal yourself, find yourself, energize yourself, learn, think the positive again, and then go ahead and do it, right? And shit is gonna us, but start is going to come to you. You know what I mean? Because listen, once you have that energy that you want to again do something, stuff's going to happen to you, right? You're going to attract certain amount of people, you're going to attract certain capital, and you're going to do it. So it's really, you have to change yourself. When you fail, okay, I failed, I understand, this is what I've done, and now I'm going to move on, and I'm going to do something else. And it's more about, I think, inner self than any other ideas that you might create. If you don't heal yourself because you failed, then you may never come up with some better idea or attract a certain amount of people or partners.
All right, do you have any more questions? All right, we have time for one more.
Advocation for your motivation to change your transition from construction engineering management to healthcare industry. My meaning is that you are the venture capitalist in healthcare industry, but you don't have any expertise fields in healthcare industry because you are from civil engineering and construction engineering management. But as you know, healthcare industry is a really highly technologically based field. So if you don't have any experience in healthcare industry, it will be really hard to evaluate the company's value. So why did you decide to become a venture capitalist in healthcare industry rather than venture capitalist in civil engineering?
Because there's not a whole lot of venture capital opportunities in civil engineering, and there's tons in healthcare and technology. And if I have an accelerator program right next door to me that specializes in that, and people coming in, they're picking up the best, and they have a graduating class, it's very easy to me pile on to the group of investors because they're my friends. They're saying, hey Mike, we're going to invest in this, do you want to come in? I look at their basic financial information, I meet with them, if I like it, I invest. It's straightforward for me.
All right, well,
Yeah,
So it's more about the trust and who you associate yourself with, correct?
that's me.
Okay.
You sum me up. Exactly.
all right, well, we really appreciate you coming
welcome.
in. Let's give a
Of
round of applause. All right, and we do have a gift for